And I was like, I want to work for companies that were not huge at the time, like Facebook or Google. And people are like, how would you do that? That's like for coders. If you are genuinely curious and excited about your craft and learning, you inherently stay on the forefront of your discipline. I do think the marketing discipline that exists today is going to look fundamentally different in many years. If there's 100 different things I can do, what is actually the most important thing to drive impact? And do I need to do that, or does that need to be delegated to somebody else?
Hey guys, welcome back to It's Okay to Be Karen, and today you have me, Karen. We have another special guest, and his name is Chris. He is currently working as a VP at Portless, and before I say any further, I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi there, I'm Chris. I'm VP Marketing at Portless, a software company focused on supply chain and logistics. I am from Prince Albert, have lived in Saskatoon for many years, and am an alumni of the Marketing School of Business here at Edwards at the U of S.
Awesome, I love that. So we're gonna do a segment of rapid fire. So we can do this in two ways. Either I ask you those 5 questions at once, or we alternate. Do you have a preference?
Let's alternate.
Okay, we're gonna do that. Next question. If you didn't study marketing, what would you have studied instead?
Network engineering.
That is very interesting.
What was the last thing you ate?
Chicken wings. Not this morning, was last night.
Nice.
Okay, second question. Are you a early morning bird or a late night owl?
Early morning bird.
Okay.
What is your dream travel destination?
Oh, it changes every month, so I'll say Switzerland for now. Third question. What is your favorite clothing store in the city?
Outer Limits. If you could have one, what would be your preferred superpower?
I think I'd love to read people's minds. So like whatever people don't bring to their mouth, but what they think. And if I can visually see that, I'd love that. Because sometimes like it's interesting because it's psychology, and like some people are really good at not actually conveying what they feel. And if I could see through that, I think that would make everybody's lives more easier.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
Yes.
You do? Big lover or like a small lover?
Medium. What was the last scary movie you watched?
The Drama.
Okay,
Yes.
never heard of that.
Yes,
all right.
It was a really good movie. What is your from what you remember from 20 years ago, what is your favorite building at the U of S?
Ooh, I think that would have to be Sphinx.
Okay.
So it was brand new when I was coming to school,
Yeah.
and nobody really knew about it yet. And I really liked hanging out with the computer science kids. So I would go there and pretend I was a comp sci kid and study in their labs.
That's very interesting, because if you ask any of the computer science majors, like they'll probably say we don't like Sphinx as much now because it's very cluttered.
Yeah.
Like you'll always see a bunch of people.
20 years ago, it was brand new, it was pristine, it clean, it even smelled good. What is your spirit animal?
I want to say a koala. For no reason, but I think it's just very calm, very composed, and patient. And that's what I'll say.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, well, now that we all know more about Chris, and you probably know a little bit more about me at this point, we'll get straight into our conversations. I know that you studied marketing at the U of S, at the Edwards School of Business. How did that education shape your early direction in your career that, later you went on to?
Right. It's very interesting because I actually came to the university not wanting to do marketing.
Okay.
I came to the university wanting to do a program that was offered called Management of Information Systems. I'm a big dork. I really wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I got to Edwards and the major was canceled in my very first semester.
No.
So I was like, oh man, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And so what I decided to do was kind of forge my own path by taking as many supplemental computer science classes as I could. And then, okay, of all the majors that I think what would be the most interesting, I thought marketing would probably have, the most use in the career that I wanted to build for myself. And so this was really great in hindsight because I was able to cobble together a program and set of skills and learnings that enabled me to kind of like build the career I ultimately have today, rather than being set down a very strict path. Folks in the marketing major were like, we're going to do, we're going to work for ad agencies, 3 martini lunches, coming up with crazy ideas. And I was like, I want to work for companies that were not huge at the time, like Facebook or Google. And people are like, how would you do that? That's like for coders. But I was like, no, that's what I want to do.
That's awesome. Also, when we think about marketing, usually there's a lot of misconceptions that are stuck with the discipline of marketing. What do you think are some of the misconceptions that you realized were not actually true when you started studying marketing?
Yeah, I think I was maybe even taught some misconceptions that marketing is this like 4 Ps type of thing that is just these frameworks. It's like marketing is building a brand and making people excited about your product or service. And if you can do that, that inherently brings people into the door, customers into the door, the business makes money. At the end of the day, marketing is actually just making money. Marketing is about doing some marketing something so a business can like grow and thrive. And I don't think that was instilled enough in me early on, that the goal of marketing isn't just to like have fun and be creative. The goal of marketing is actually to drive business performance.
That's so fair. Yeah. Now when you're on the other side, now when you've gone through the phase of being a student, now you work in industry, when you look back at what you studied in marketing, what are some of the things that you think school didn't teach you, but it's things that experience taught you instead?
Oh yeah, so much, so much. If you would have told me many years ago that as a marketing leader, I would spend all of my day in spreadsheets, I would have said you're nuts. But that is the reality. It's like marketing as a discipline is incredibly data driven, and I don't think students are as aware of like the tools and the skill sets that you are actually going to be working in day to day. I think people may think it's like, oh, it's like social media, it's design, it's creative. No, it's like a lot of like cold, hard data analysis, looking at numbers and things like that.
Right. When you're looking at yourself and, the years of experience that you have, what do you think are some of the mindsets or some of the life habits that you think is very important to have a long-term successful career?
The one that I come back to all the time is like genuine curiosity and passion. If you are genuinely curious and excited about your craft and learning, you inherently stay on the forefront of your discipline, and you are passionate and fired up about your work, and that always reflects itself in the work. If you're just like, it's a job, that reflects in the work. So like, I say this to students all the time, if you are not really fired up, if you can't just like talk somebody's ear off at a party about the thing that you're studying, find something that you can. Because like, I can talk your ear off about the ins and outs of like marketing because I'm genuinely passionate about it. And I'm like, my friends and my family and people in my life are like, Chris, quit sending me like things about this crazy, thing that's happening in marketing. Like, we don't care, but like I care because I'm like very fired up about it. And I think sometimes people take jobs or they go down a career path because it seems like a good idea, but they're not really genuinely enthused and passionate about it. And I think this is reflected mostly in like most of the best marketers I know did not have a marketing background. Some of the best marketers I know come from playwriting backgrounds, or they come from data science backgrounds, or they come from psychology and consumer research backgrounds. These are people who are genuinely excited about those things, and then they can parlay it into marketing.
If you wanted to tell the audience maybe 3 things, anything about marketing that you're super interested about, what would you tell them? Anything. You can go as technical as you want.
3 things that I'm excited about right now.
Yeah.
I think like AI is like the omnipresent elephant in the room, and like, yes, I'm excited about AI and go down that rabbit hole, but like everyone's talking about that. I think what's more interesting is the counter argument of AI right now, especially in marketing, where people are so online that people are very interested in like turning off and going offline.
Right.
So like building spaces in community that is like offline for people to do things, like go for a dinner together, go for a walk in the park, join a run club. Like those are actually interesting things that I'm curious in exploring. And then I think one of the other things I'm like very interested in exploring is like global marketing. So like we talk a lot about the tools and the channels and the mediums in which we all know in North America, Meta platforms, TikTok, X, Snapchat, whatever. There are other platforms in the rest of the world that arguably have a larger impact, and we just never hear about them, like Sina Weibo in China. So like, how can people take advantage and explore and use these other platforms that are used globally by a larger absolute number of people? It's very interesting to me.
And it's also interesting, you spoke about AI, and I feel like we're kind of all in this space together, like AI kind of being powered in different fields, whether that be medicine, technology, agriculture, marketing. When we're talking about AI, just from your knowledge, your expertise, from what you've gone through, in your career, where do you see AI in marketing? Where do you see the field of marketing maybe in the next 20 years? What do you think that field would look like?
I think it will fundamentally change it. And I don't want to be like too hyperbolic, but like I do think the marketing discipline that exists today is going to look fundamentally different in many years. And I don't think a marketer that is paid to use tooling to build something is going to be an employable kind of field anymore. I think AI and automation is going to do a lot of that part, and what humans are going to be relied for more is the brute force creativity that happens outside the production of building marketing things. So like there are image models, there are video models, there are audio models that can make all of these things that effectively like marketing is quote unquote responsible for. I think it's actually the creativity of application of all those tools is where marketers are going to need to pivot and spend their time, but also learn how to effectively become the manager of agentic systems. So instead of just telling Claude what to do and like, nope, change this, it's going to be like, hey, AI, I want you to go do X, Y, and Z, and the context and the framing and the creative angle around it is this. I think that's where things are going to go, not even in the next 20 years, I think in the next 3 years. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how quickly folks adapt, not only folks like myself that have been in the industry for a very long time, but people who are coming into the industry who have been using this tooling as they've gone through their schooling. Right? And they are now coming into the workforce as quote unquote AI native.
That's very true. It's also interesting, right? Because I think maybe 5-10 years ago, a lot of us might not be aware of the term data science. And then that field came in, there was new kinds of jobs created that we probably didn't expect 10-15 years ago. Now we see AI, and now we're creating jobs that we didn't probably foresee 10-15 years ago either. When we talk about all of these things, when we talk about the future workforce, what do you think are some of the mindsets or some of the skills, whether we say technical, soft skills, whatever they may be, what do you think are those essential things that maybe the future workforce will require?
I kind of touched on this a bit before, but like the passion and the curiosity, like if you're curious about like going really, really, really deep on something, that will always serve you really well. And I think just like hard, you kind of alluded to it, like data science, like hard data skills,
Yeah.
analysis skills, or if AI can do that very well, which it can, I would say being able to ask really good questions and uncovering insights, and then being able to connect an insight to an action.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Talking a little bit at your role as a VP in Portless, what does your day-to-day kind of look like if you had to tell that to an audience?
Yeah, sure. So my day-to-day is working across the business to kind of like drive business performance. And what business performance means is more folks in our industry, which is e-commerce, that is aware of Portless. They understand our offering and our model, which is very unique, and that they understand our value proposition really well, and they're excited to work with us. And if all of those things are true, then figuring out how we self-organize the business to effectively like serve those folks and make it really easy for them to talk to us and really easy for them to start working with us. And on the flip side of that as well is like, build our kind of brand promise. One of my favorite sayings, it's a saying of Jeff Bezos, who I'm not a huge fan of, but he has this saying that's like, brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And so like, I want to make sure that we can build a brand that if e-commerce operators, our audience, are talking amongst themselves somewhere where we are not, that they have positive things to say about our company based on the way that we perform.
Yeah, that's awesome. Looking into a little bit about your role, what do you think are some of the challenges and the opportunities that you've come across in your role in a very high level?
I think, one of them is just like at a senior level, it's like effectively aligning everyone in the business towards a goal. Everyone has their own goals and everyone has their own metrics and their own KPIs, and people are looking to always like self-optimize. And so it's like, how do we collectively decide on something and move the business in one direction? And then I think the other thing is like, where do I spend my time to have the biggest impact? If there's 100 different things I can do, what is actually the most important thing to drive impact? And do I need to do that, or does that need to be delegated to somebody else?
Right, absolutely. Looking at the marketing landscape, maybe in the past 20, 30 years, 25 years, how do you think things have changed over the past few decades?
I don't want to say like do more with less, but like do more with less. I think, 20, 30 years ago, there used to be entire departments of creatives, right? Entire departments of writers, designers, developers, whatever. And now a marketer is expected to do all of those things. And so like technology like AI can definitely help you do all of those things, but it means you're getting kind of like a surface level, a bit of experience there, like being able to really go deep in specific verticals, like specific like niches, and like learn them really intimately. I think is something that is kind of like going away a little bit, because you are expected to be able to know and do everything with the tooling that is available to you.
Working as a VP in many different companies, is there something as an observation that you've noticed that's something very similar about all of these companies?
Well, I've worked in all technology companies throughout my entire career. So like I guess the similarity is what would be referred to as kind of like the go-to-market motion, which is that my entire career has been like selling things on the internet. I've never really worked for a company where it's like, we sell a physical widget. And so the commonality in my career is that like I work in digital. It's not like I'm working for FCL, selling, gasoline and bags of chips. That's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is being able to sell a product on the internet and get people to adopt it and use it online.
I'm curious to ask, because you spoke about, you're more into the technical realm of things in your marketing area. How did you realize this niche of yours? How did you realize that I could do a better job in this technical industry, but chose not to explore the other ones?
Oh, just like self-satisfaction and passion. Like I grew up as like a big nerd. I was always, like hacking around on things.
Yeah.
If you listen to like any podcasts with like security people, they're always talking about, oh, I was always like hacking things and modding things as a kid, and I was like the same way.
Right.
But actually, the coding of these things didn't really interest me as much as the output interests me. So like I didn't want to do all the breaking and changing. I wanted to more like analyze the output. And so like I was steeped in that from a very young age. So like I knew I wanted to be in that realm, and I was like dangerous enough to like break things.
Yeah.
And aware enough to like understand what much more technical people were talking about. And so I could be in the room, I could be in those conversations. So I knew I wanted to be there, but just not doing it in the same way. So if I can't do it, if I'm not a really good coder, what else can I do that would be valuable? Oh, well, it is like the marketing of these things.
That's so fair. Yeah. Looking at where you are currently in your career, if you had to describe what growth means to you at this stage, how would you define that?
I guess there's two lenses to look at that, right? It would be like there's personal growth and there's professional growth. So like personal growth for me means getting the opportunity to continue to learn. And that's learn from great leaders, that's learn new businesses, that's learn new skills, get really excited, like I talked about before, about these things that make me really passionate. And then learning in like a professional sense is kind of like almost the exact same thing, really, than the personal sense. It's like learning from people, leveling up.
If you had to give advices maybe to any of the students who are currently in marketing,
sure.
What do you think you would tell them today, given that, you know, all of the things that you've observed so far in your career?
Yeah, what I would tell them is that when you convocate, you are going to get a degree. You and hundreds of others. So if you are applying for a job and you say, you should hire me because I am a graduate of the U of S. So what?
Yeah.
You and hundreds of others. And so if you are looking to get a job, especially in your like chosen field, your chosen career, it is no longer good enough just to be like, I have a degree. You and hundreds of others. What have you done specifically that you can demonstrate makes you the person that is most fired up and excited and engaged with this role? So like folks in the business school, let's say, it's like, hey, I built this little small business on the side. I volunteer for these different organizations. Like I built this little prototype. Like, yes, it's going the extra mile, but it's showing that kind of like passion and enthusiasm and drive that I was talking about before. If you're just like, hire me because I have a degree, it's like, no. Like, I think now, especially with like AI, like everyone is applying to every job, it seems. And so the competition has leveled up. As somebody who hires and looks at a lot of resumes, I have seen the other side of that tsunami of applications that come in for a role. It's very, very obvious to me the ones that actually are truly excited and stand out because they demonstrate that. And so, you know, taking that a step further, it's very uncomfortable, but I've never seen this fail. You're interested in working in a field? Look up people who work in that field. Say like, hey, could I grab a coffee with you? Could I learn about it? Could you talk to me about it? The smartest graduates I have seen are the people that have jobs waiting for them before they've even convocated, because they have done that networking and the learning in the industry that is effectively built them the network that gets them the job.
Yep, that's so fair.
So, you know, maybe it's like, just to use the tech example, you go to all the collabs events and the Opus events and you volunteer and you do some work with the companies and you become friends with the founders. You say, hey, maybe I can work for you 5-10 hours a week and get some experience. And then you go to apply for that job that everyone else is applying for and you are head and shoulders above. But you actually have to put in that work to do that, which 99% of people don't.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, right? Because as a student, sometimes I realize exactly what you're saying, because with the AI landscape, I feel like almost everybody is kind of applying to every single job. You know, you as a person who's actually hiring, you see that huge wave. So totally agree, absolutely. When you're looking at your career, actually going a little bit backwards, Was there things that you realized about yourself when you started working in a fast-paced industry of technology?
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, where it's like, every day something changes with AI and things like that. What did you learn about yourself along this journey?
Yeah, I think probably one of the things that I learned of many years ago that is somewhat surprising when I tell people is that working in tech, there is kind of this implicit, unwritten expectation that everyone wants to like create their own thing. They want to be a founder. They want to start their own business. I don't.
Right.
And whenever I tell people that, they're very surprised by this. They're like, "Really? You work in startups? You work in tech? You don't want to start your own thing?" And I'm like, "No, not really." Like, I know myself well enough to know that like I couldn't stomach that risk of it being on me. But what I am really good at is catching other people's founders' ideas, getting as excited as they are about it, and really want to like push it forward and like bring it into reality.
Right.
It de-risks it because it's not my own thing, but like I will have that passion and that fire to keep going with that business, but I know I could never do it myself.
Right. I'm also curious to ask, because you've worked as a VP in many different companies, but have you ever gone through a phase where something didn't work out? And did that ever make you step back and make you rethink and reassess why didn't it work out?
Oh yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. You're like, the thing about working in like very fast-paced startup environments is that you are doing a lot all the time at once, and 9 of those 10 things are going to fail. So you have to be really good at failure. You have to be really good at iterating quickly. You have to be really good at extracting learnings from the failures and seeing how you can iterate faster and better. And you have to have like what's referred to a lot as like a growth mindset. You have to be like, hey, this didn't work, this sucks. It's like, hey, this didn't work. Okay, what can I take from this?
Right. Has your leadership approach ever changed in the years that you've been working? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think like any leader, you learn and you get better. Like if I look back on like my first years as a people leader, like I genuinely cringe looking back on like, how I acted and led, and I think that's like healthy and normal. Like you're constantly having opportunities to like learn and grow and get better, mostly through failure. But yeah, I would say like I learned so much from the people I get to work with every day, and I've absolutely changed my leadership style. I used to be much more just like transactional. It's like, do this thing, it was completed, yes, no, good, bad. But as I've grown up as a leader, it's like everything is much more nuanced, and you understand that nuance, and you understand motivation, and you understand performance management better, and you become a more effective leader because of it.
I assume you must have a very busy schedule as you're working. If you were to tell the audience maybe 2 to 3 things of what you do to keep that work-life balance.
Sure. I am a pretty rigid type A person. So I set myself a lot of like rituals in order to structure my time, but also like make sure that I have a semblance of work-life balance. So the first thing is that I ensure that I have like what I consider to be like an ideal working setup. So about a year ago, my wife and I had twin babies, new parents. I was working from home. I realized that my workspace at home was no longer going to be able to be conducive. And so like I sought out and I found a new workspace that I could optimize to be really good for myself. So when I'm in that space, it can make me most productive, most comfortable, and even just something as silly as like bringing my coffee machine from home and putting it in there so I can like start my day every morning with like a coffee. Another thing that I do is that I'm very structured about like after dinner every evening, I go and walk our dog. I think it's a great like stress reliever. It's a great exercise for the dog, but I take the dog, we go to the dog park, I listen to podcasts, and I throw the Frisbee.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then the last thing is kind of constantly always have something to look forward to. So it's like being able to think about into the future about like planning the next family vacation, planning the next adventure, something that you can like dedicate a little bit of your time to, not work related, that is like something to look forward to. And then the moment that happens, it's like, okay, let's start planning the next one, right? So those are the kind of things that I do in my own personal life.
Yeah. Is there a person or is there a thing, like a book, a podcast, or a show that you really look up to but a lot of people don't know about?
So probably the book that I think is like undervalued the most, that I was introduced to a few years ago, that I bring up all the time, is this book by Patrick Lencioni called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And it's kind of like this little story parable of a dysfunctional team and how you can write it with the proper leadership and what you have to watch out for, and how you build an effective team. And when I was introduced to it, I was like, this is a little like hokey, you know, like quote unquote management science. And then I started like thinking about it. Okay, I'm going to give this an honest try. I'm going to like try to see how I can see this in the business. And then like it's broad enough that the moment I like opened my eyes to like accepting the possibility that these things could be true, it's like you see it everywhere. And so like I always recommend 5 Dysfunctions of a Team to people, because it's like it's generic, but it's generic in the way that like you can apply it to a lot, and it's very useful.
Awesome. I love that. Now that you're here at my podcast, and usually when people come from more leadership or management role, they always talk about some of the frameworks that they implement in their own teams. I'm curious to ask, do you ever follow any kind of frameworks? And when I say frameworks, are there things that you follow in terms of managing your leadership team or the management side of things?
Yeah, sure. So there's one I'll share with you that, you know, whenever I come into a new role, there's effectively like 3 things I want to look at optimizing, which is people, process, and technology. And this is inherently like coded towards like, you know, software, you know, SaaS, whatever you want to call it, like that I work in. But you want to like have a really deep look at like people, where people like over exceeding, where people like struggling a bit and they need some support, and like figure out like, do we have the right people and skills to go where the business needs to go? And the next part is process. Like, are there processes in place to accomplish the work that needs to be accomplished? Like, yes, no, do they need to be changed or evolved? And then like last is the technology. It's like, is there the tooling in place to support the people doing the work to do the job? And so it's like, you're trying to bucket optimizations of a team or the business into these 3 buckets. And it's very plainly obvious to be able to like put things in there all the time. And then you'd basically just say, great, like how am I going to like change manage these things in the best interest of the business?
As a leader, do you feel that feedback is very important for you? And if so, how do you actively look for feedback for yourself? Because I feel like usually, you know, when you're working like under a leader, you know, you're getting feedback from your leader. But when you're the leader yourself, what do you do to actively look for feedback?
You would hope that you get it from your boss, right? So like, you know, in my business, I report to the founder, and like, he gives me feedback all the time.
Right.
In the same way that, you know, I would give a member of our team feedback. I think the thing that the strongest performers, what they do is they actively seek out feedback, which is very rare. And when people do it, people are like, really? They did that? Like, it's very eye-opening. But like, those are the people that are the truest high performers. They go and seek feedback out. They go to people and be like, hey, could you give me some feedback? And usually like the look on people's faces when you do that to them, they're like, what? Really? Like, is this a joke? But those are what the highest performing people do. They actively go out and solicit additional feedback to like inform a wider worldview. Because if you are just getting feedback from like, let's say, your boss and your team members, well, what about adjacent teams? What about adjacent team members who you interact with? What's their perception?
True. I remember when I asked you about growth, you did say that you really enjoy learning about new things, having a curious mind. Well, I'm curious to ask now is, you as a person, whether it be in your professional or personal life, if there were 3 things that you could improve on, what do you think those would be?
Yeah, like always, like a million things, right? But like, I think what I need to do sometimes is slow down to go faster.
Yeah.
There's this idea of like speed versus velocity. And like, I'm a person that can like, I see something and I'm like, here's the 10 things I'm going to go do to fix that. But it's like, maybe there's 1 or 2 things where like that speed compounds and you actually start accelerating and have velocity that I need to get better at all the time. Is instead of just moving with speed, it's like actually like increasing your velocity. So I need to get better at that. I also need to get better at being more succinct. Sometimes I can be long-winded. So I need to get better at being succinct.
Right. It's interesting though. I don't know if you realize this, but that's a very important quality, right? Because as a leader, you're self-aware of the areas that you want to improve on and you're actively working towards it, which I think is awesome. When you're looking at this podcast, I treat my podcast as a platform. If you had to say anything that you wanted to say to the people who are watching, what would you tell them?
I would say what I said previously about, I really want students and new graduates to succeed, and I really want them all to have like amazing careers. I'm getting increasingly nervous for new graduates that they are not adapting to how the world and the business world is actually working right now.
Right.
And I think this is symptomatic. I think there's a few symptoms here, but like one of the things is that they need to seek out additional sources of education in their undergraduate from industry to get real world practical experience to supplement the academic learning. And so what I always encourage students to do is like what I said before, get out there, talk to industry professionals, go to meetups, take people for coffee. Like, you would be shocked at how far that gets you, but 99.9% of people don't do that.
Right.
And I've never seen somebody do that where it didn't like lead to a lot of really great outcomes.
What do you think we as people or organizations, whether that be institutions or industry folks, what do you think we could do to allow students to have that pathway?
Talk to them.
Right.
Talk to them. Like, be able to provide your perspective, be able to provide your learnings. I think we as industry professionals owe a bit of like an obligation to the next generation in the workforce and students to like make sure that they are really prepared. So when they come in to the workforce and they are then our colleagues, they're like super successful and they go even further.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, yeah, like we work long hours and jobs, but I think we need to always make sure that we like give back to a degree.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to say, thank you so much, Chris, for coming on a weekend.
Yeah, no problem.
I think it was really awesome to have you to learn about what you think. And it's very rare that we have, people of, upper higher leadership to share about their experiences. And I'm sure a lot of people will actually get to learn a lot more from the knowledge that you provided. But with that being said, though, I have 3 gift cards actually for you today.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
So this one's actually for your wife.
Okay.
Please help me to pass it to her. It's actually from Westgate Books. It's a book coupon, and if she enjoys reading, it's a great place to go.
She sure does.
And this one's from Delish by Tish that you can take.
Thank you very much.
And this one's from Hedgehog Bakery, so you'll get really good bakery. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Of course.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Well, thank you so much for coming here. Thank you so much for sharing so much, and thank you so much for coming on a weekend. This means absolutely so much.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to say to the audience before we end here very shortly?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Well, with that being said, I want to say thank you to the audience for watching this episode. I'm hoping that you were able to learn a lot. Well, I myself as a host have learned so much here today just by sitting here with Chris. And I'm hoping that if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, which I hope you don't have any, but if you do, you can leave it in the comment section below, and Chris and I will help to co-reply. And with that being said, we're going to say bye.